guys, it's Bro You Whack, and happy Overwatch 2 beta day. Now, if you haven't gotten in the beta, make sure you're checking your email today, but if you want to see the beta in action, I will be live on my Twitch channel today and also tomorrow, where in tomorrow's stream, you will get a chance to get access to the beta just as long as you will watch my stream. But for today's YouTube video, what I want to do was to compare Overwatch 1 heroes to Overwatch 2. So to save you guys some time in case you're just wanting to see one specific hero, I will have timestamps for every single hero and their change. Now, the first hero changes we're going to be looking at are tanks. Now, they all universally got a 30% knockback resistance, which that's like a Lucio boop, but they also give 30% less ultimate generation if they take damage or if they receive healing. But now, the first specific hero change we're going to be looking at is D.va. Her base health got increased from 300 to 450. That does not include her armor because her armor got reduced from 300 to 200. And the fusion cannon's got a huge buff for primary form of fire, where whenever you're walking when shooting, the speed reduction got decreased from 50% to 40%, and the weapon spread got reduced from 4 to 3.5, meaning it's going to be a tighter shot. Orisa got a baker's dozen worth of changes, so strap in. Both her base armor and her health got increased by 50 points, so 100 new points in total. She has a new primary form of fire where it shoots slower and does less damage over time than the one that she has in Overwatch 1. However, she does have infinite ammo now. It's kinda because she has a new overheat to her primary form of fire, meaning that if you just hold down the fire, eventually it's gonna overheat, meaning that you're gonna have to wait a total of 3 seconds for it to fully go back to normal. She has a new secondary fire, the Energy Javelin. It deals 80 damage if you don't put an enemy against a wall, but if you do, it deals an additional 40 damage, 120 damage in total. Fortify is still here, even though it's kind of unrecognizable, where now if you use it, you're 20% slower, but it does give you an additional 125 health when active, and it also reduces the heat generated when shooting by 50%. But now you're probably wondering, what happened to her shield, her ult, and also her ultimate? Well, she has a new ultimate in the form of Terra Surge, where now it pulls enemies similar like Zarya's grab, where it charges an area of effect up to 4 seconds, where it deals upwards of 225 damage. You're also fortified during this time, and also while charging, it deals a little bit of damage over time, and it slows the enemy by 30%. And instead of a shield, you now have a javelin spin, which sounds lame at first, but in execution is actually pretty cool, because for almost about 2 seconds, you spin a javelin deflecting any damage incoming your way. And during the spin duration, it increases your speed by 60%, but after you use this ability, you have a 20% speed increase for 2 seconds. Reinhardt got some beefy changes where his armor increased from 200 to 300 and his health increased by 50 points, giving him 150 total new hit points. His steadfast passive now is replaced by the universal tank change, and while the charge pin damage got reduced by 75 points, it's a lot easier to steer, increased by 50%, and you can manually cancel it, meaning that you don't have to suicide charge anymore with Reinhardt, and the cooldown is now 2 seconds less. He has 2 fire strikes now, where the damage got reduced from 100 to 90, and unfortunately his shield got a huge nerf where the health got reduced by 400 hit points, where now it's at a total of 1200, and the regeneration rate got reduced from 200 to 144 health per second. And even though his ultimate didn't change in Overwatch 2, I just want you to listen to this ult. Come on now, that's a buff in itself. Now that changes to Roadhog, he now has a base health of 700, and his Take a Breather now has an additional 50 health granted to him. Sigma's shield to his health got increased from 100 to 200, giving him a total of, well, 100 new hit points. His rock damage got increased by 30 points, totaling 100 damage now, and the regeneration rate to his shield now does 110 hit points per second, where previously it was 120. Winston got some interesting changes. His base armor got increased by 50 points, where now he has 200 total armor. He joined the Uchiha clan, where now he has a secondary fire to his Tesla cannon, where it charges an electric ball and it shoots it at a range of 30 meters, dealing up to 50 damage, and it costs 20 ammo to charge this ball. Winston's bubble's health increased to 800 hit points. However, the length of the actual bubble will last only 8 seconds, 1 second less, and the cooldown also decreased by a second all the way to 12. And Angie Monkey Mode, his ultimate now costs 10% more to get. Hammond's base armor and health increased by 50 points each, totaling his total health pool to 700. And his adaptive shield got a huge buff with a radius increase by 2 meters from 8 to 10, and the health gain from each target now grants you 100 additional health, increasing it from 75 to 100. Zarya's health increased by 50%, where her shield only got increased by 25 points, granting her a total of 75 new hit points to her total health. You're gonna see a lot of health changes to tanks specifically. Zarya's bubbles got a change, but I would say it's a buff where you still still have an opportunity to have 2 bubbles, but you can give your teammates 2 bubbles or you can give yourself 2 bubbles. However, just know that you can't bubble the same target again until 2 seconds have passed. There's a 10-second cooldown for each barrier, and the duration for each bubble has increased from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds. And you're gonna lose charge a lot slower because the degeneration increased from 1.8 seconds to 2.2 seconds. Probably what is the biggest change out of all the heroes, Doomfist is now a tank. And if you're surprised by that fact and you want to learn more about him being a tank, I did make a separate video talking about all the details of his changes, but once again, if you didn't know, his health got increased from 250 to 450 due to him being a tank now. The hand cannons, or the rocket knuckles as I always call it, got nerfed where it does less damage, 6 to 5 damage per pellet, and now the ammo regeneration now got decreased all the way to 0.4 seconds. The rocket punch famously got nerfed where you're no longer able to get an insta-kill if you have a fully charged up rocket punch, but he got a huge buff with his seismic slam. While it doesn't deal any CC, you are able to jump in the air, something like Winston's jump. It deals 50 damage to any enemy that makes contact with it and is slowed down by 30%. And his ultimate really got reworked when it comes to the numbers, where the damage range got decreased from 15 to 100. However, a direct hit still deals 300 damage, but now it gives a 50% slow to enemies hit by the ultimate for 2 seconds, and the cast time got reduced by half a second. But that's not all for Doomfist, because you're probably wondering where his uppercut went. That went away in favor of the power block ability. This now blocks 100 damage in total from the front, and if you take 90% damage, it now increases your rocket punch by 50%. It allows you to travel farther by 50%, and the area effect of the rocket punch now increased by 50%, and it also adds a stun duration of about a second to any enemy that is hit by the rocket punch. Alright, we finally made it to DPS, which once again, all the DPS heroes move 10% faster. So the first change is going to be to Ashe, and unfortunately, Bob had to get nerfed because his base health got decreased from 1200 to 1000. No! But it's all because there's a new Omnic in town, and that's Bastion, and he's basically a brand new hero. His primary form of fire, Recon, now does more damage by 5, but it shoots a lot slower, 5 shots per second, and the spread has been removed, so it's more like Soldier 76, but his ammo got reduced from 35 to 25. His Sentry, or Assault as it's now officially called, where he transforms into his Gatling gun, now allows you to move while firing. He does have infinite ammo in this state, however, this only lasts for 6 seconds, and this is a 12-second cooldown ability. The damage got reduced, and the spread also got increased, where it does a constant 2 degrees. But I mean, when you're able to move at the same time, you can't really complain. His self-repair ability is replaced by his new secondary form of fire called his 836 tentacle grenade. This is a grenade that is able to bounce off of walls and also stick towards enemies, but if it doesn't hit an enemy, it deals up to 130 damage, but if it sticks an enemy, it will deal 130 damage. And his old tank ultimate gets replaced by his new ultimate called Artillery, where it locks Bastion into place, but you're able to choose where you're gonna launch 3 mortar strikes. Our third favorite cowboy, Cole Cassidy, is here, where his Fan the Hammer fire rate got increased by 7.5%, which I could barely notice. His flashbang gets replaced by his new magnetic grenade, where if you have an enemy towards your crosshair and you throw this grenade at them, it could actually stick to them upwards of 10 to 13 meters, but it can chase them in that 3-meter mark, and it does a total of 131 damage. What? This Deadeye ultimate ability got a huge buff, where now it grants a 40% damage reduction when you're in your ultimate, and it builds up over time from 130 base damage to 260 damage, 275 damage, all the way up to 550 damage. This also lasts 1 second longer. However, it does cost 10% more to get. On to Echo. Her focus beam got a nerf where it does 25 points less damage. And Echo's ultimate change is a little bit confusing, but whenever you copy somebody, your health pool is limited to 300 health maximum, meaning that a Tracer copy will still grant you 150 health. However, you will only have 300 health with a Reinhardt copy. Genji didn't receive any changes. Hanzo got a nerf to his Storm Barrel. Let's go, oh, it's only by 5. I hate it. Junkrat's trap works a little bit differently now, where it no longer stops all movement of an enemy trapped within the trap, but it slows the enemy movement speed by 65%, and then it breaks it when you reach maximum length. The damage done from the trap now increased from 80 to 100, and the projectile speed at which you throw the trap got increased from 10 to 17. Alright, here we are. The infamous May change. No longer does it freeze and stun an enemy for a short duration of time, but rather just slows an enemy instantly, decreasing their speed by 50%. If she stops hitting you with the slow, you're still slowed for half a second, and the damage done when doing this got a huge buff where it increased from 55 damage to 100 damage per second, and the ammo increased from 120 to 150. Oh, how Blizzard is so generous! Her ice block now gets affected by the Sigma Slam, but more importantly, her ice wall got a nerf as well, where each pillar's health decreased from 400 to 250. Oh yeah, to make matters even worse, the range at which you can deploy the wall got decreased by 35 meters to 20 meters. Oh yeah, it also costs 15% more to get her ultimate. Why don't we just remove me from the game while you're at it? Just like Reaper, I want to die, so let's talk about his changes. The damage per pellet decreased from 6 to 5.4, such a random number, but the spread heavily got increased from 6 to 8. You really see this on headshots where you're no longer able to just one-shot kill any squishy to the head. Pharah also didn't receive any changes. Sojourn's the newest hero in Overwatch 2, so there's no point to compare her to anything because she was never in Overwatch 1, but if you want a dedicated video where I talk about her weaponry and her abilities and her ultimate, then go check out that video because I feel like that one will do it way more justice than just having a 10-second segment talking about it. Soldier76 joins the club with no changes. Sombra's changes are very technical, so strap in. She does less damage, it got decreased from 8 to 7, but the spread is a lot tighter, getting decreased by 10%. Her hack got heavily changed, where now it has a universal cooldown of 4 seconds that includes health packs. The casting time increased by 0.2 seconds. Hacked health packs are hacked for 30 seconds now instead of 60, and the ability lock, whenever somebody is actually hacked by Sombra, now only lasts 1 second, where before it was 5. That's actually a huge nerf for her hack. Whenever you hack an enemy, however, it reveals them through walls for 8 seconds. If your hack is interrupted, you have to wait 4 seconds for it to get back up, and this is so silly. The stun duration of hacking Bob now decreased from 5 to 2, and now whenever you hack Baptiste's Mentality Field, it just destroys it. But hacking doesn't stop there, because there's a new passive ability that deals with hacking that's called Opportunist, meaning that if you hack an enemy as Sombra, you now do an increased 40% damage on that hack target. And that also applies to hack targets from her EMP. However, her EMP got nerfed where it no longer deals damage to base shield health pools, but it still deals damage to barriers. And the last changes are to her stealth, where the fade in time got reduced by 50%. The enemy detection radius got increased by 2 meters at a total of 4 meters, and now you're able to hack while being in stealth, but you're revealed for almost about a second, 0.75 seconds in total. Symmetra didn't get a single change in Overwatch 2. Torbjorn also doesn't change in Overwatch 2. I'm sure Tracer has a lot of changes as well. Her primary form of fire damage got reduced from 6 to 5. Man, we're really changing the cover art girl here, aren't we? But what about Widowmaker? Her base health increased by 25 points, totaling 200 hit points now. On to supports. Now remember, they all have universal self-healing that also applies to Mercy, but there's a unique change to Mercy. But first and foremost, Honest change. Now her Sleep Dart cooldown increased from 12 to 15 seconds. Baptiste's changes are a little bit more interesting, where his heal minimum fall-off range got reduced from 25 to 20, and his regeneration burst now does a little bit more healing, 100 healing in total, where previously it was 75. Brigitte got a lot of changes to her shield bash, but the biggest change is that she no longer stuns an enemy with her bash. In my tier list video, I might have said that she could still stun the enemy. If I did, I'm completely wrong. I don't know why I said that. But moving on to the buffs for her shield bash, the cooldown decreased from 7 to 5, the distance that you travel increased from 7 to 12, you no longer stop by impacted barriers, and now you do a damage total of 50 damage. And when you hit somebody with your shield bash, it now triggers your inspired passive healing. So I think this is why I thought she was stunning enemy, because I saw something on the screen happening. Turns out it was the inspire passive healing. Lucio's ultimate now costs 12% more. Yay. And Mercy's self-health regeneration ability now increased by 50%, meaning that you just gain a lot more health if you stay out of danger. And both Moira and Zenyatta don't get a single change in Overwatch 2, but Zenyatta does have the cleanest HUD in Overwatch. And those are all the Overwatch 2 hero changes. This video took a long time to make, so if you could, just please stop by my stream and say thank you, because oh, this was a long one to edit, but I'm very happy to help you guys out before you get into Overwatch 2, and hopefully when you get into Overwatch 2, because, well, if you watch my stream tomorrow, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get in. But until then, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.